everyone, this is Sofia Osfour and welcome on this new episode of my masterclass podcast on healing wounds with the Osfour self-coaching model. In today's video, we are going to talk about a subject that I'm starting to be really passionate about, that, which is, women and the work of healing that I think we should all be doing. On Monday I sent a video on my YouTube channel about the abandoned wound, which got me thinking about the number one power of women, right? And for those of you who already have seen my previous video, about this subject, I already spoken about how important it is for women to feel precious, right? To understand profoundly and deeply how precious we are, how our time is precious, how our love is precious, how our body is precious, and how our babies are precious, right? And of course, our first job, and I already said that, but I'm going to repeat it just to create a context to this video, is that for us as a woman to understand how precious we are, and not only understand it in our head, but really carrying that knowledge from deep within, it's important because based on that knowledge, we're going to make very different choices for ourselves in regard to the partners that we allowed in our lives. And of course, for the future, potential father of our children. And that is why, it's so important for women to feel precious, because the number one job that we have to do, that we have to excel at in our lives, is to choose well for ourselves and for our future children, because we are the point of connection between our future children and the father of our children, right? And so in that regard, I wanted to talk and underline a very important subject. Women have a superpower, but because they never taught about that superpower, what often happens is that superpower is abused. And the power that we have is the power of love, right? And I know it sounds like a song or like so corny or something, but it's true, We have a natural ability to love, right? And to care. We're natural lover, we're natural caregiver. But you see, the problem is that, and it goes back to what I said about women, the number one job that we have to do is to choose well. And I tell you why is it so important. Because when we don't choose well for ourselves, this power is abused. And I tell you how. When we all entertain and allow ourselves in our lives a man who is toxic, and when I say toxic man, I want to acknowledge that, the guy doesn't need to beat you up every day to be toxic. A man can be toxic simply because he's not available. He makes you work hard, for his love. And this goes back to the video I sent on Monday about, abandonment, right? This would be something that typically women would found, because if for whatever reason their mother have not chosen well their father, then most likely there would be a disconnection with the father. Because we have to always remember that it is the mother who connects the children with the father. So there's lots of women, when they're pissed off at their husband or their ex-husband or their partner or whatever, what happens is that source of resentment is being passed on to the children, right? It's a way for women to control, in a way, the outcome, or in a way to punish the father, right? Which is completely useless, because if you would have chosen right for you in the first place, you would have not have to done that. You don't need to do that. But anyway, so the power of women is the power of love and to care, right? But the problem is that when you allow yourself, and there's three major problems that happens for women in that regard, that when you entertain a man who is toxic in your life, number one is that a toxic man is somebody, because ultimately he's not a bad person. I want to acknowledge that. You could be a very good person and extremely toxic. I separate the behaviors from the person. It is a person who's going to consume a huge amount of love and care and attention and time. We have to acknowledge that when someone is hurt, you can give them as much love as you want. And I think that there's lots of young women who coming, as we all did at some point, so deluded, thinking that they're going to fix the whole universe with their love. I mean, technically, yes, but in fact is that if someone doesn't want to be fixed with your love, you could give them as much love as you want. You're just gonna pour it in an empty, like a bottle with a hole at the bottom. I think, I don't understand. I'm giving all this love, but it looks like it's going nowhere, and it's exactly where it's going. So you're just wasting your time, and at the same time, you're exhausting yourself. That's the number one problem when you entertain in your relationship a toxic man. And it could be anything, but basically there's no exchange, I said. The second point, and that's probably the effect that is the most underlooked, right? When someone is toxic, right, and you allow them in your life, right, and you give them love, well, sure, that person is going to consume a lot of love, but while they're consuming your love, they're also rejecting all of the dirt, you could say, into you, right? So that's why it's a toxic relationship, because what you're doing is that the trade that you're doing is that you're giving love, and in exchange you're receiving dirt, you're receiving pain, you're receiving disrespect. And the thing is that women are not equipped to deal with that. So what you're left is like, okay, I'm just giving you something that is pure, and in exchange I'm receiving this darkness. What am I supposed to do with that? I'm not built to deal with that. So most likely this is going to be kept, within you. And that's how you end up, you see that woman getting that's usually, it's around like 40s, so resentful, so bitter, so angry, so pissed off at men. Well, because they've done a bad trade, but also because they've never been told. Women are not told those things, And the third point, which is also very important, is that women are not taught to keep, women are taught to always give, they have to give to their children. And in fact, it's not some like a conversation that we have, but they're basically taught to give, but nobody tells them, okay, you got to keep some of it for you, to care for yourself, right? Because you have to understand, when a man wants to be successful, it's always interesting, if you go on YouTube, and you listen to those guys, whoever they are, some of the top most successful people in the world, it's interesting to listen to how they speak. And a man would always go into something within himself where he's really aggressive, it's this and it's that, yeah, and you gotta wake up, and I'm often listening to those motivational, videos, but I'm thinking at the same time, I just don't fully connect to it because it's so aggressive, and I don't respond so well to aggressiveness. And I realize, is that the reason for that is because for me as a woman, that's not what triggers my will. That's not what triggers my powers, right? My powers relies more on something like self-care, caring for yourself, doing the work for yourself. Those are more like connected to love, in my opinion. And so that's why also in our society now, we're seeing so many women who turning almost into a man, because in order for themselves to take care of themselves, the only models they have of success is men, right? And man is always, of course, how can I say, man and aggressiveness is always connected to action. But can you have action also when you're a woman and based on love? Of course you can, because women do lots of extraordinary things with this power. But this power, I think, is underlooked at, right? So I wanted just to clarify those 3 points. The number one issue that there is for women to entertain any kind of toxic behavior from her partner is that someone who's toxic is going to consume a lot of care and time and love, right? But they're going to be like a bottle with a hole at the bottom. You're going to pour in all your love and still going to get nothing, right? That's the number thing. 2, someone who is toxic and you allow that person, is that the exchange that is happening is that you're giving something that is just so pure coming from yourself, right? And in exchange, this person is giving you something really dark. So this is why, by the way, we're calling this a toxic relationship, because the exchange is not light for light. The exchange is light for darkness. And often women are not equipped, to deal with that level of darkness, right? And the longer allow that person around you, and the longer this trait is happening, the more it's going to be hard for you to, handle that level of darkness. And thirdly is the fact that women are not taught that out of all these things that they give, they have to set up boundaries for themselves so that they can keep some love for themselves, because we have to reproduce that love. Okay, true. At first, when we start in life, we have this abundance of love. We have this abundance. But we also, as time goes, we have to save some to be able to reproduce it, right? And we're not equipped for that, because if we allow toxic behaviors around us, at some point, we're going to be drained. As simple as that. As simple as that. And then this is when you find women who are bitter, angry, upset, resentful, whatever. And everybody's going to say to them, but why did you allow this person in your life, right? But because they didn't know. It's very easy to point fingers at someone, when you haven't been in their shoes. So that's why I found, for me, as a woman, I found shocking that this is not something that young women are taught early on in life. And also that this is not something that is openly spoken about also. So I hope this video is going to help a lot of women out there. I think that what's important to acknowledge here is the real power, and I said it and I will keep on saying, the real power here is for women, and that's why to be aware of your preciousness, or even if you're not yet aware because you need to do some work, right? Because it's maybe there, right? But we got to take it all the way down until it's part of our entire being, right? That knowledge is that you can start to have standards for yourself of who you allow in your life and who you don't allow. The behaviors that you accept and the behaviors you don't accept. And it's simple. It's based on what is the trade that I'm making. Am I trading light for light, or am I trading light for darkness? This is a standards, by the way. That's it. And it starts from there. And there's no judgment, by the way, on, why the person is doing this. Oh my God, this is a horrible man. He's toxic, man. There's all this hate about men nowadays. Listen, I'm going to emphasize that I love men and I care about men. I acknowledge the fact that, yes, some men are, messed up, but so are we. And I think that if anyone can start this journey of healing, and I said this already, by choosing well for ourselves, by raising our standards, by making clear and defined decision about what we allow in our life and what we don't anymore, we can impact how man behaves and how they don't. This is where our powers lies. Okay, guys, so I hope this video was helpful for you. I'm gonna keep on making more of those videos because I like that subject a lot. And all I'm gonna say to you until next week is peace, love, and light. Bye-bye.